There is a lot of notes today, so try to keep up, but I will like pause here and there to give you a chance to take a screenshot if you need to finish it after class. Excuse me. I'm going into our class right now and into our module. So the cool thing is that since we are finished reading Tangerine and we're not quite ready for our next reading, it looks really short this week. So there's no extra reading. The reading is up to you. You can choose, like I said at the beginning of the year, you choose what you want to read. And that can be a book, a graphic novel, or manga. Any of those is fine. You just have to read for at least 20 minutes a day and tell me what you read in your reading log. So there's no assigned reading. It's just what you're going to read. And then we are working on symbolism this week. So if you look at our week at a glance, you'll see that today we're doing IN notes on symbolism. Tomorrow we're doing the colors. Today we're doing things. And then Wednesday, you guys will be doing an activity with symbolism and tangerine since we're done with the book. And then Thursday, you're doing an ed puzzle. And then Friday, you're going to have your quiz. So pretty simple this week. We will start reading soon, but not yet. For the rest of the school, I'm not sure if any of your other teachers are doing it. It's kind of like a catch-up week. Since we already had a catch-up week a couple of weeks ago, we're not doing it with the rest of the school. But just to let you guys know, I am doing another catch-up week in November. So I want to say like the second week of November. So we'll be doing a catch-up week. So let's go ahead and get into our notes. I want you guys to open up. My goodness, I don't know what is going on. Everything is like super glitchy today. There we go. Open up your IN notes for symbolism. And then like usual, you open up whichever one is easier for you to access. So there's the PowerPoint, the PDF, and the Google Doc. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the one off of my desktop because I have it here. So it does look like this. I need to make this bigger for us. Okay, and I'm just zooming in some so that it's easier for you guys to read. So the first thing I'm gonna do is, this is set at 18, so I'm gonna go ahead and change it down to 14 because we've got a lot to write right now. Actually, I'll change it down to 14 for the bullet points. We'll leave it at 18 right now. So the definition for symbolism is, a symbol is an object that conveys an idea beyond itself. So let's go ahead and type that in. Okay, and then under that, you guys are learning every day. So if you click this button right here that has the bullet points, it'll automatically create bullet points for you. And that's what I did. And then here, I'm going to go ahead and change my font down to 14 because we're going to need this space. So symbols can be a lot of things. So the first thing we're going to write in these bullet points is, a symbol can be an object, a picture, written word or words, a sound, numbers, and language. So any of these things. So we're going to write that down. A symbol can be an object, a picture, written word or words, a sound, numbers, and language. Also, very important, symbols are not universal across cultures. Super important to remember, because we're going to talk about like across, that is definitely not universal across cultures. So everybody's beliefs are different. And so we happen to live in a, well, for the most part, the United States is a Christian nation. It doesn't mean that we're not mixed. I'm just saying that I could literally drive down the street in a town where I grew up and see several churches, and most of those churches would have a cross on them. So, and that's the same whether it's Mormonism or Christianity or Catholicism. But if you were to go in another country and it was a Muslim country, you're not going to see crosses on churches, and you're not going to see churches. You're going to see something completely different, and they call it something different, just like the Jewish religion calls it a synagogue. And they don't have crosses, they have a different symbol. Theirs is the Star of David. And so everybody's is different, which is why it's important to write down in our notes that symbols are not universal across cultures. The next thing is symbolism is used to provide meaning to the writing beyond what is actually being described. So you're supposed to see more into it than is right there in front of your face. And then this is what I was just saying. So symbolism requires interpretation on the part of the reader. And another word for that is implicit. And then when something like plot and action, the author gives us those to us straightforward, and that means explicit. Or another word for that is explicit. So we're going to write that down too. So symbolism requires interpretation on the part of the reader. Again, that is implicit. Remember, when it's straightforward, it's the opposite, which is explicit. And then the last thing we're going to write down is that symbols can be religious, they can be mathematical, or they can be political. And they don't have to be any of those either, but they can be those things. So like a mathematical one would be something like this. I'm just going to put it in here. That is a mathematical symbol, and that would mean greater than, right? So mathematical is greater than political. And I'm not going to leave that there because I don't want to mess up your things, but this is definitely a mathematical symbol. This is a mathematical symbol. This is a mathematical symbol. So you could leave those in there for your own, as long as you know that that is different. And then a political symbol is like the American flag. That's a political symbol. Any flag from any nation is a political symbol. And then religious symbols is what I talked about earlier. So if you've ever seen one of those, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So a lot of times, I love this bumper sticker, but I just want to show you. I see these coexist bumper stickers, and it's symbols from all different religions. And that's why I thought it was such a cool thing to show you. So if let's just like go in on this one. So every single one of these is a different religion. So you see like here's the cross, which is one we're going to go over, and then you have yin and yang. And then this is the Jewish symbol. This is female and male. This is peace. This is Muslim. So there's all kinds of different ones in there. And that's why I thought it was a cool thing to bring up. But you notice like if you went to like Israel, you'd see a lot of this, but you wouldn't see a lot of this. And if you went to Morocco, you'd see a lot of this, but you wouldn't see hardly any of that, and definitely probably not many crosses. And so that's why I wanted you to be very aware that this is not, that these symbols are not universal across cultures. Let's go ahead and get out of here. and go back over to the PowerPoint. Okay, the next thing I want to look at is, let's go over the objects, all these different objects, okay? So the first one is obvious, it's a fire, right? But all of these objects that we're going to be looking at can have positive and negative symbolism. So the first one is fire, and we're going to write down burning. But it could also mean destruction. It could be just hot. It could be heat. But then like the positives, it could be warmth and it can be passion. So you ever heard somebody say like they have a fire for someone? It means like they have passion for them. But like fire, like in camping, could also be just like here it's warm, but it could also be the complete opposite with camping, like do not set a fire here because it can cause destruction. Excuse me. All right, the next one is the sun. And we're gonna write down light, bright, happiness, power, energy, and life. And then a tree, we see a lot of, which is funny because it could just be a tree, but usually tree stands for way more than that. So it could be nature, growth, seasons, the circle of life, oxygen, wisdom. And trees are used like that. Well, obviously it's part of like the ecosystem, right? But then if you were ever to like go visit Yosemite and see like the great redwoods, those are hundreds and hundreds of years old. They last way longer than we as humans last. And that's why they are considered, or they're a symbol for wisdom and growth and seasons and circle of life. And they could just be for life, okay, just like the sun. So without the sun, there is no life. But the trees is its own version of life. It produces oxygen, all kinds of things. And that's why they could both be life. We've already talked about the cross a couple of times, but we're going to write down cross. And then any religious symbol could mean a lot of these things. Okay, so you could put like God, church, only they might call it something else. So for a Christian religion, if they put up a cross, it would definitely be a symbol for Jesus. But any religious symbol could be like holy or spirituality, faith, purity, and then particularly with any Christian religion like Catholicism or Mormonism or any Christian religion, the cross is definitely a symbol of sacrifice. Okay, this next one is a diamond, and that could be looked, again, lots of positive and negatives. So if you've ever, well, let's look at some basic ones. So for me, and for a lot of people, the diamond is like, it symbolizes marriage or a marriage, but it's also a symbol for rich. You know, if I could spell rich, that'd be great. Wealthy, status, expensive, money, beauty. So for me, it might mean like marriage, but I see at least once a week TMZ that some rapper has had some new kind of chain or pendant created out of diamonds, and it'll be like a cartoon character or something, or some kind of logo or symbol that means, excuse me, that means something to them. But there's two symbols in there, right? The only reason that they're making it out of diamonds, they're making their particular symbol out of diamonds, is for status, to show that they've now reached a different status and they're rich or they're wealthy and they're going to put it right here or wear it right here. And so there's twofold to that one. Okay, the next one is a skull, and we're seeing that a lot around right now. So usually a skull would represent death or Halloween.
Or Dia de los Muertos.
My son is saying Dia de los Muertos, which is good. It could represent poison, pirates, toxic, and hazard. So it can be a warning or just straight up death. But a lot of times for us, it's a warning for death or a warning towards something being toxic. But then you see it on a pirate flag. And when we were reading Romeo and Juliet, a lot of people turn in their poison thing with like skull and crossbones on it. So lots of double meanings in there. This one is an hourglass, and that can represent time, the passage of time, mortality, which is like that we can die at any time, day, and patience. And then we have a light bulb, which I use a lot when we're doing our notes, when I'm trying to put in like an essential question for you guys. So usually that means light or ideas, or bright, or Edison, who developed the light bulb, or invention, or energy, power, and electricity. Lots of things. I've even seen it meaning like smart, like, or a light bulb comes on and that's like ideas. And I think the coolest one up here is probably the owl. And that's because the owl represents, so owls for some reason represent wisdom. And this one always reminds me of this old commercial for Tootsie Pops, where the owl would be up in the tree and he'd say, how many licks to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop? And they had him up there because an owl represents wisdom. And so they're saying like, they're kind of challenging you. And at the same time, it was just a commercial for candy, but it was interesting because they used that owl. So an owl can represent wisdom, and then owls are nocturnal animals, meaning they're up during the night. So it can represent night. Goodness. Or just nocturnal creatures. And then intellect. And just because I wrote this list here doesn't mean that that's the end all be all. There's probably tons more meanings for each of these symbols. These are just some examples. So what I want to do now is look at a symbol in literature. And hopefully you guys have either read the book, one of the Harry Potter books, or seen one of the movies, or even gone to Universal Studios and ridden one of the rides, to know enough about the houses. And students in Harry Potter are sorted into houses, and then they compete like that. And one of those houses is Slytherin, and Slytherin's symbol is the snake. And you see behind it is also their coat of arms, and the coat of arms has a snake on it. So we're going to talk about the snake, because the snake is rooted in evil, and the author of Harry Potter purposely chose the snake for lots and lots and lots of reasons. But that doesn't mean that every kid that's sorted into Slytherin is evil. It's just that the snake symbol itself is rooted in evil, according to the Christian religion, because the snake is the serpent who had to deal with Adam and Eve in the Bible. And I don't want to get too deep into that. I'm just saying that that's what that is rooted from. So we're going to talk about that. So one clear symbol in the Harry Potter series is the use of the snake. So let's go ahead and write that in there. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this down to 16, and hopefully everything fits in there. So one clear symbol from Harry Potter is the use of the snake. And again, I told you, the snake represents evil. And then there's tons of ways that the author uses it. So it's not a coincidence. So we're going to write that down. It is no coincidence that it is found of the symbol of Slytherin, which is what's right here. And then the author uses it a couple different ways. It's also, the snake is also used in Voldemort's ability to communicate because Voldemort can speak to snakes. He speaks some weird language. So does Harry Potter, but Voldemort is where the root of evil is in those books. So we're going to put that in Voldemort's ability to communicate with them. Then also as Voldemort's companion, because he keeps a snake as a pet and like goes around with it. Voldemort, in case you didn't know, is the giant antagonist in the whole Harry Potter series, and he doesn't pop up right away, just his name does. But if you read the whole series or watch all of the movies, he's always behind everybody else, every other antagonist, and he is the main antagonist. So Harry's the protagonist and Voldemort's the antagonist. And so that's why I keep mentioning Voldemort in these notes. And then also the snake, even though the snake is a symbol of the House Slytherin, it's also a symbol of the Death Eaters, which is the scariest thing there is in Harry Potter. So if you've ridden the ride, those are like the big ghost creatures that kind of come after you. So it's kind of ironic that one of the houses has that, but so do the Death Eaters. So we're going to write that down. All right, I'm going to zoom out a little bit because I know it was a lot of notes in case you want to take a screenshot.
How do I highlight the
I'll help you in a minute, okay? All right, guys, and don't worry if you didn't get it all. I'm going to post a video too, so we'll be able to come back. All right, before I let you guys go, does anybody have any questions about what you're doing today or anything? Okay, guys, then I'm going to let you go and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys. Have a great night.